Hello and welcome to the Gers TV. My name's Cy Leslie.
I'm Vivian.
I'm Gordon, back from the sick bed.
Again.
We've got Lewis here as well in the corner, as always. Guys, just everybody knows what we're going to be talking about tonight. Obviously, the Rangers versus Aberdeen game, and the big news that Michael Beale has left the building. So, before we start that, I think we can give a wee like and a share, get as many people watching as possible. That'd be great. Good numbers. We'll do the shout outs in a wee minute, but basically, we'll just spend the first 10 minutes, I think, just going over the shambles that was a game at the weekend where we get beat 3-1 at Aberdeen. Where did we start?
The start of the game, probably.
So,
I think we started the first 15 minutes.
Well said, that's why he's in charge.
well, I think the biggest problem that Michael Beale had, and I would say, if you look at the game, in the first 15-20 minutes, Rangers should be 3-0 up, and the three guys that missed three sitters are his three new signings. Three of them have let him down. His recruitment's let him down, and ultimately, the recruitment failure has cost him the job that he strives so hard to get, and there was no other decision could be made.
I think you're spot on. I mean, Dessers was meant to be the big signing, the one that we heard about for months and months, and we got him, and then
I think he chased Leo for months as well,
Yep.
and you have to give him a chance still. He's not been playing, he's got that goal and he get an injury, but the guy's on the park. I mean, Dessers misses a great chance with the chip in the first couple of minutes, and then Seema misses a header that he should be scoring all the time.
It's constant
And
misses.
these misses they're basically they've cost the manager his position. But if you look at the goals that we lost as well, back again to what we spoke about so many times, they've got set pieces that they don't work on the set pieces at training. I don't know why, but there was no man in the back post for the first goal. The second goal, they had something like 10 shots before the ball went in the net. You can see Butland diving all while he's trying to save it. The defence are in absolute shambles, and whoever takes over this team, which we'll discuss later on, they're going to have to make a big decision. Do you want Tavernier as your captain, and are you going to keep that defence the way it is? Because you're going to have to keep it there for a few months until January. But after that, this team, and especially the key players, have left two managers now. They've dropped the tools, and they've cost two managers their job.
Yep. So, guys, everyone that's watching, there's going to be a lot of comments tonight, so we'll get through them as quick as we can, and we'll read out as many questions and comments as we can as well. I could not agree more with what you said at the top of the show there, Simon, about the chances in the first 15 minutes, and we can talk about tactics and everything, but you have hit the nail on the absolute head there. His three signings, those three chances, that's why he's out of job.
Yeah, I mean it's hindsight. It's easy to do hindsight, but the guys that he's got in to replace Morelos and to replace what's his name again?
Sakala, Kent.
And Kent. You're expecting any of the three players would have scored at least one of the goals. He had a chance for. He's no brought in better. He brought in worse.
He brought in worse.
And ultimately, I don't think anybody. There's very few Rangers supporters I don't think would agree that his time was up. He completely lost the dressing room.
Yeah, I think that the Old Firm games last season, bar one, were a bit disappointment. Yeah, there was an improvement. We did play a little bit better in some of the games. We won the game at Ibrox 3-0. You could argue that was a dead rubber, but I don't believe any Old Firm games are dead rubber, to be honest. But we won that, and then he made the big, bold decision to let go of 4 players plus McGregor retiring. And to be fair, that was you've got to admire that, because he had, for want of a better expression, he had the balls to do that. And you've got to say to yourself, okay, he's wanting to make changes. So at that point, you thought, okay, he must know who's coming in. Then Bisgrove and Beale does interviews, and they've been tracking these guys for months and months and months. They say they're ideal for our style of play. They'll complement our new forwards, etc. They come in, and then as a manager, and it doesn't matter if it's Rangers or your job or anything, you live and die by your decisions. He decided that he wanted to put his stamp on the team.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a gamble, but fair play for him to have the actual decision to do it. Unfortunately for Beale and for his fans watching, it's not worked out, and ultimately, as you said, Si, it's cost him his job.
Yeah, well, and getting back to the Aberdeen game, obviously it was out, Kemar Roof's now out again injured, and a few of the players, you wonder when the new manager comes in how quickly the players will be back to full fitness, because I do believe that players can help get a manager the sack. I think his style of play, I've seen the comment there, the style of play and the shape I've commented on for months, everything was going wrong for him, but these players are going to be still here, so they need to get the finger out.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said this to me, I can't remember, it might have been you, Si, actually, last night. Scott Wright's come on. Now, bear in mind that Beale has... It was you, actually, mate, wasn't it? So bear in mind that Beale tried to sell, was desperate to get rid of Scott Wright, just as much as he was desperate to get rid of Sakala, and then Wright's come on at half-time, and if you watch that game back in the subsequent events, has he... I would like to think he hasn't, but has he went on the park to get sent off?
He didn't look too bothered about getting sent off, and the 2 tackles were ridiculous.
And then
the 2 challenges, sorry, when tackles.
It's just stupidity, and there are players are just coming back in from injury now, apparently, which is very, very strange given the fact that they're supposed to be out. And Michael Beale said that Roof didn't tell him about his injury until it was too late the other week.
Well, that's all very well saying that one, but you can have a look at Matondo. Everybody can see Matondo was injured and we played him on last week.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2 weeks ago, and he's out for weeks.
It's just speculation and rumours. I would like to think that that's not the case because they are professionals and they're getting paid a lot of money to play for our famous jersey. But sometimes the mind does wander.
Can I say though, just to say he did make some good signings. We'll get Raskin, we'll get Cantwell,
Butland.
Yeah, but the problem with that is
it wasn't all bad.
I wouldn't class Butland in this because I would say he's a future captain of Rangers, but Raskin and Cantwell both have declined in performances in the last few months under Beale.
Yeah.
He didn't make them better players, but he certainly brought good players out of them. But he didn't make them better.
I do feel as well Tav on Saturday. I think I don't know, but I think there's player politics where they were really not getting on.
If you look,
it showed.
Yeah, if you look at we said this in the show a few times. There's no shape, there's no desire, there's no tactics, passion. And if you look at the body language as well, some of the time, backs turned,
yeah.
Walking away from the ball, not looking for the ball with kick-ins and throw-ins,
individuality when they're playing as well.
If you watch the game back, there's examples where there was, and I'll hold my hands up and say I was over in Spain at the weekend, so I didn't go to the game, but. If you watch it, you got the luxury of watching it on telly, watching it in slow motion and replays. There was a ball back in for Aberdeen. Golson has about a 10-yard head start on the Aberdeen player.
That's right.
And it's so slow.
And Aberdeen player knocks him up there.
Yeah. And then
after winning the ball.
And then Barisic comes on, and for Aberdeen's third goal, Barisic just falls over.
Yeah.
And then because I've tried to blank it out of my mind. I think it's Aberdeen's second goal where they have 6 shots in goal. 6 shots in goal in the space of 45 seconds, and the 6 shots a goal, and that all comes from a mistake from Dessers in the first place.
But it's all schoolboy errors. But I mean, the names that you mentioned there, Gordon. This is what I'm saying. These guys and I'm not defending him, Michael Beale here. I thought he was a nice guy. And I felt a bit bad that when he left, however, there was no choice, he had to go.
Yeah, no choice.
But see these players that you mentioned, these so-called leaders of the core of the team, they've got 2 managers sacked now. And
exactly.
If the next manager comes in and tells me he's sticking with him, then the next manager is going to go down the very same road.
I totally
when
agree.
They take the huff.
Do you know what? We've been 2 loyalty players, I think. We've won 2 trophies in 6 years. Is that the standard of Rangers Football Club? No.
Yep.
So it lies on the pitch as far as I'm concerned.
So there's a major decision to be made now.
Because we've made this changes everywhere else, so I think it now needs to look at other things, i.e. captain.
So I think that there's big decisions need to be made at the club. However, I've got a concern that maybe people might disagree with. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. We'll get the comments in a minute. I'm not very confident in the selection process and the people at the board that are going to pick the next manager.
Yeah.
Over the last 11 years, we've had 9 managers.
Well,
and we've had 4 managers in 5 years.
I was going to say,
I
mean, I think now, up until the 90s, Rangers only have had 8 or 9 managers.
Yeah, and then we've had more managers now.
In the last, as you say, the last 8 years, it's now a 4th or 5th.
Gerrard, you could class, was a project type, but he was the right man for the right time, I think, and he energised the club. But when you look at some of the decisions that the board and the previous boards have made, Pedro Conchina, I thought Warburton was not too bad a manager, he'd done the job he was there for, but Michael Beale was a project, and right now Rangers cannot, the football club cannot do another project, so they need to get the right man.
We need a winner. So looking back at Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, it wasn't actually as bad as maybe it's not as bad as we thought.
Well, the board went and.
But it was easy option they went for.
The board went and gave brought in an amateur manager, gave him 15 million, got him for 4 years. I mean, who does that?
Yeah,
So-
and everyone says that, just my final point, maybe start to get to the comments in a second, my final point about, you touched on it, Si, about a great coach, and we say Michael Beale's got this reputation as a great coach. However, in the last 6 to 12 months, our players have been coaching that have went backwards in coaching, and I don't think he made the right backroom appointments either. I think that his coaching staff as well really have to take some proportion of the blame, because we don't look as if we're a team that's organised, and especially at set pieces, as we've always said. 3 or 4 of us have sat here for almost a year and said it's the same, right, every game, it's the same goals. We lose down the right hand side, down the left hand side, cross into the box, we can't clear it, and we're not organised. So I think there was an air of inevitability around Beale leaving, and as much as we can criticise the board, etc., I do actually have to praise him for being semi-decisive and not let it linger on, because I think it was a point now of no return for Beale.
Yeah, well, I would argue that if Beale had got a result against Aberdeen, and if he'd have scored 3 goals in the first 20 minutes, they would have beat Aberdeen. If he'd have got that result, I'm pretty sure he'd have still been the manager by January, because I think we would have won on Thursday and we'd have got a wee run, and the argument would have been he'd won the 5 out of 5. But that's how close football can be. The bottom line is we didn't win at the weekend. Aberdeen pumped him at the end, and Rangers had gave up in the last 10 minutes. Ibrox was absolutely toxic. People were raging, including myself. The fans had made the decision. It was time up. In fact, half time they probably had made that decision.
Are we surprised though that this happened?
Well, not after we beat Motherwell 2 weeks ago at Ibrox,
Yeah,
and even though we won,
Motherwell were a better team.
the Motherwell were the better team, and even though we'd won the game, there was boos and jeers coming on after I went. At that point, that's when I thought, this is it.
I'm not too surprised.
We spoke about this off air, right? So one of the problems with this Rangers team is, and this happened last year as well, see when Celtic got the winning goal at the weekend on 97 minutes,
Yeah.
there's like, we can't prove this, but I'll tell you now, half our players probably put their head down before the game started.
Yep, and it's happened.
And-
It's not
and
the
that's
first time
mental.
it's happened.
If we were in a situation where we just conceded a 95th minute equaliser, we
wouldn't come back for that.
wouldn't come back from that, and
No.
our players would start raging and probably start fighting. But for Celtic, it happens so many times, and it's the mentality of the players, and the players aren't strong enough mentally. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say there was videos of Tavernier obviously walking out, ignoring the fans after the game, after the Aberdeen game.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've seen that, but I don't know because I don't like it when people do that and then they film it.
Yeah.
I get the point you want to make your point.
Because you're just seeing
As soon as you start filming it, you're trying to catch people out as
Yeah.
well.
Exactly.
Whether
that's
they're,
nice for that.
whether they're right or wrong, you don't want to be catching. I don't like the idea of that trying to entrapment.
We don't know what's going on really.
So my opinion here, the Rangers board have got 2 major decisions to make, and I don't know. I think we should talk about it. I don't know what order we should make them in. So we'll talk about it after the comments. But Rangers need to decide: do we need a manager and a director of football? And if we do need a manager and director of football, what do? Do you buy a director of football who helps pick the manager, or do you pick a manager who then has a director of football that don't go on together?
True.
That's a dilemma, because if you get it wrong, then we're back. We can't keep getting it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think Michael Beale did a very, very good job of convincing the board that he didn't need a director of football, didn't need somebody in that role,
What
because
is a director of football? for
it's
you?
just somebody that takes so Michael Beale would concentrate on the tactics and the training, etc., organising that, where the director of football might organise the contract negotiations and
For example, the
the
signings that we made in the summer,
Yeah.
he could have questioned them. The director of football could have said to the board, I'm not sure
Right.
spending
Yeah.
6 months or 4 months chasing Danilio's a good idea. And they might have said, Lammers a good player, however, is it worth getting rid of Lammers and getting rid of Sakala and buying Lammers when we don't need to do that? So he
Yeah.
might have questioned that.
And a director of football is more of a link between the manager and the board as well, and the board will give the director of football like a remit, and it's your job to conduct negotiations on behalf of the club. It's your job to negotiate contracts, etc.
I would think as well, it's not like a guarantee, but I would say a director of football normally would be traditionally a more experienced ex-manager
Aye.
or legend, so it's somebody that carries a bit of authority, carries a bit of respect.
Yeah.
Ultimately, anything goes wrong,
oversees it.
he oversees the manager, so he's partly to blame or partly to take credit if things go right. But it means the manager's more a coach.
I get
Yeah,
you.
which I think, and obviously we see hindsight's 2020, but given Michael Beale's track record as a coach, you would have thought that he might have realised that and brought in maybe not a director, but probably maybe have a chief executive or somebody in there that can do that job.
I agree with you saying, but I disagree with when you say Michael Beale. Michael Beale's not got that role. That's
That's
where
what I say. He's
well,
not got that
the
remit.
board should have done that.
That's the board.
And I was under the impression the board would have done it. I don't know if Michael Beale told the board that they want it, but he shouldn't have an opinion on that.
Exactly. The board.
A club the size of Rangers, this is where the problem is. A club the size of Rangers should have a director of football, and it should be an experienced, proper director of football. So that's a major problem that they've not got that. That tells you that Rangers don't either the board have underestimated the job, trying to do it on the cheap, or they don't think it's important. Whatever one they think is a concern.
Can we,
What, do you want to catch on the
we've got
comments?
so many
There's millions
comments
coming in.
here, so let's.
So we'll start talking for it, but we'll keep talking. But we'll read out some of
I want
the.
to hear some, read some of
Aye,
the opinions of other people. Some good ones. Donna,
Okay.
hi Donna, hi Robert. Good Robert. We've got Sarah watching. Hi Sarah.
Let us know your name when you're commenting, because some of them just come up
Tommy.
as Facebook user.
They do, yeah. There's quite a few. So
Yep. So John Gardner is saying this, as we said, the decision there was an air of inevitability around the decision, and
100%.
it was a question of time. So that's a good point. There's a comment about the injuries, saying that are they genuinely injured or not? And,
Well, I've suggested that for a while.
who knows? Somebody's asking what the style of play was. We don't have your name, but again, we have been talking about that for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's always the never-ending story with that, with the show on here regarding that.
This is a good comment for Roddy Fraser, right? Give Stirling a game at right back and give vocal Butland
the armband.
the armband, and let's be strong and move forward.
Exactly.
So the problem I've got with what Michael Beale was doing with guys like Stirling was bringing them in and playing them out of position.
Left back.
Playing them in the wrong
play them at
position.
left
So I do agree we can't really judge the guy until you play him in the right position. So two of the guys that he depended on at the weekend to beat Aberdeen, one of them was Davies, who 3 months ago he did everything he could possibly do to try and sell him, and in the last minute he didn't go. He's our main defender just now, and the guy up front who comes on to win the game for us is Scott Wright, who, back to what I'm saying, 3 months ago Rangers are doing everything. So for an example, in January, if Rangers get offered the lowest possible bid they can for Scott Wright, they'll take it.
Absolutely, because
So why are we depending on him to win a game?
Because that's all they've got, and I don't know. So I think with the director of football role as well, I had a look today, and with the amount of 20, maybe even 20, 30 years ago, you didn't have the same amount of staff that you've got now, right? We've got a rehabilitation manager, we've got a performance coach, we've got data analysts, we've got doctors, we've got 3 physios, we've got head of fitness and strength and conditioning. We've got a scouting team, we've got a medical team. You need a director of football to manage, to oversee all that. And I think maybe Michael Beale's trying to do all that himself. And
whilst being a coach.
And you can't do it. And that's when you rely on your backroom staff. But for the backroom staff we've had in, Neil Banfield and Damien Matthew and Jack Aid, like nobody's, apart from, I'd heard briefly of Neil Banfield, but the other guys I haven't heard of. So if you want to phone in, just give us your last few numbers.
We'll catch up with the comments.
Okay.
Let's catch up with them. There's the comments.
So Scott Walker is saying about dropping Tavernier. Again, that's going to be. There's a lot of comments about Tav and his suitability for he's been captain, and he thinks he's undroppable. I think that Tavernier's form is that.
Any manager that keeps Tavernier as a captain, the next man, no matter how good a manager he is, to me, is signing his own.
I think you're right.
Okay. David Hutchinson is saying it's the worst forward line we've seen in years. Yeah, I mean, we were commenting, we were watching, we had the luxury of watching it on television on Saturday, and that's luxury, yeah. And that it's only then when you realise just how bad it is. That honestly, sometimes it's not. Lamar's actually. We were saying this off air as well. That Lamar's, you can see that. He has some decent wee touches and flicks and good control, etc. But we've not found a position for him yet, and he's not really contributed yet. But there's little hints of a player there sometimes. But no one they're good enough.
It seems to have not a
Dessers-
bad touch on him,
There's
massive.
just nothing. There's no.
Aye,
I hate to
Dessers
draw the
is-
line on a player so well in his career, right? But I would be very, very surprised if any manager in the world could get anything out of Dessers. I
Well,
just
he
don't
was
see
the
it.
top goal scorer in the Air Division. Well, he was a top goal scorer in Europe as well for Feyenoord. So he's got a pedigree. He's an international player as well. So I don't know what's happened to him, but you know, he went to Cremonese in Italy and scored a handful of goals while Cremonese were relegated. So maybe that's affected his mindset.
I really don't know. I could be wrong. I just don't see how he comes back for it.
Hi Claire, how you doing?
Sai Vivian and John, whoever John is, not sure who John is, but that's fine. If I say anything that you don't agree
I'm
with,
sure that happened the other week or not.
if I say anything you don't agree with, Claire, I'm John. If you say anything I do agree with, it's actually Gordon. Right, there you go.
Lovely.
I think it's even Lily gets name checked right.
I know. We made an all last impression, so I have.
So there's a few comments on who the manager's going to be. We'll go to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Need a clear out and fast. Well, we've done most of the clear out, but we need to get clear in now. We need to get the new guys in.
Clear in.
Aye, unfortunately.
Gattuso, I don't think we can get Gattuso. I don't know that
Gattuso's just
Gattuso
for
signed-
Marseille.
as
Is it?
the Marseille coach, I think it was. However, it was last week. It wasn't like months ago or anything like that. So I don't think there's any chance of getting Gattuso.
So let's go down. So again,
Right,
more
so
performance of Tav.
Roddy
and,
Favour.
90% of our fans were delighted when Beale was
Yep,
appointed.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah.
We don't get paid to make these decisions, though. That's the
Exactly.
difference.
You're paying for a board who should be studying, and when I say studying, it should be people that are proper football people studying, because fans get passionate, and I'll hold my hands up. I thought the Michael Beale appointment was a good appointment. I said it on
did
here,
as well, yeah.
and I still say that I believe that. However, I got it wrong, but I'm not paid, and none of the supporters are paid to study and interview and do due diligence on the manager, and that's why it needs to be the right decision. It doesn't need to be a popular one for the fans. It needs to be the right decision.
I still
Absolutely.
thought that at that point, though, it was a smart decision, and I still do think at that point it was a smart decision. You know, he understood the club, and he was doing well down in England, so it just went wrong for him.
Yeah. And we spoke about it. There's still a terrible snobbery in the game towards
Scroll down a
Scottish
little bit.
football people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we haven't signed. Because these Scots we could have signed in the summer, we
Right,
didn't
Robert.
sign them. Yep.
Need a Barry Ferguson in the middle of the park as a leader. The problem with that, Scott, I agree with it. There's no many of them left out there. However, it would be, and I'm just putting this out here. His nephew Lewis Ferguson has just
Yeah.
been made captain of Bologna, so he
Yeah.
can't be that bad a
There
player.
was another signing that got away.
Once again, there was so many players,
He's
Scottish players, that we had
thriving
the option to sign.
And thriving when they go to
Yeah.
different leagues. So
Lewis,
maybe that's
Josh
something.
Doig used to play for Hibernian. We had a massive chance to sign him, and we didn't.
Oh, he's
and then
smashing it over in
he's
Italy as
doing
well.
Yeah.
very well in Italy, and
He
Lewis
went-
Ferguson.
He signed for, I think it was
Verona.
Verona, if I can get that out. And
Sorry.
he's now got Juventus and Milan, AC Milan wanting to buy him as well, which he says speaks volumes.
It's
So.
So there's definitely a snobbery
Yeah,
towards
it's-
that, but we
it's-
speak about it every week. That needs to end. That needs to end. Whether it's
Yeah,
Scottish
I mean-
coaches or Scottish managers, we need to remember that we play in the Scottish League.
Shankland and Nisbet as well.
And I also think, not just for their ability, I think we need players who understand what Rangers are all about as a club, the passion, the badge, and having a few guys in the team that understand what Rangers mean
Do you know,
is vital, really, to have that.
I was talking to my mum the night and we were talking about, like, obviously the caretaker stepping in, and do you know, as soon as he started as a player manager, didn't he?
Aye.
And then he became, like, he started 9 in a row and all that,
Aye, yeah.
And
Aye, well, the thing with the Sooners one was it was a massive overhaul.
yeah,
He was always a manager, but he was player manager because he still had the ability to play.
yeah,
But that kind of signing will happen once in a lifetime, I would say.
aye,
People are speaking about it again, and everybody's entitled to opinions, but the comments I keep seeing is bring Souness back.
yeah.
Souness, in my opinion, as a football person, is highly rated, highly respected. I was at the Walter Smith dinner on Saturday night when he was speaking. The place was silent. But I think he's yesterday's man when it comes to football. He's not been involved with a team for something like 10 years.
Right.
He could be an ambassador for Rangers and things like that.
Yeah.
But the game's moved on.
Yeah, absolutely right. So he could be a kind of like senior director football figure, but for a hands-on role, you've got to be. There's so much has changed in the world of football in the last 10 years with
Very quickly. Yeah.
performance coaches and data-driven and analytical tools, etc. And you know the players wearing GPS, trackers on their
I mean, to
body
gi-
and stuff. So
to give you an example, Souness was a hard man, and the game that Souness played in doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a different game. As much as I like to see him involved, I don't think the director of football. Let's move down. There's loads of comments. We'll try and get your comments in. We need your last 3 digits if you're phoning.
yeah. Please put your last 3 digits in.
Get Warnock in to work with Davis and Ray to review the situation at the end of the season.
I couldn't disagree more with that. to be
That's
fair.
a good comment, right?
that.
So that's a good comment. However, I would say that's a firefighting exercise. That's a project to get us out to the end of the season. If they're doing that just to get to by the end of the season, win a couple of cups, do well in Europe and try and salvage the league, I can understand the thinking behind it. But the bottom line is, 9 managers in 11 years. Rangers need a settled manager who's going to be the manager for the next couple of years.
Don't get me wrong, I mean, you're right, I do understand the thinking behind saying something like getting Warnock in, but however, I think the fact Warnock's now 74 years of age,
So I'm saying he's not going to be.
he's just left Huddersfield after a poor start to the season. I really don't think he's the right
10
man
years
for the
ago, he
job
would have been a
right now.
fantastic manager
Aye.
for Rangers.
He's not a bad manager, he's passionate, but I think that he's very, like again, he's kind of older school kind of guy. Don't get me wrong, people can adapt, but I just don't think Neil Warnock's the answer. But
Yeah. Well, let's keep up with the comments first and we'll go back.
yeah,
It cost a lot of money for a decent manager.
absolutely,
Exactly.
Yep.
Need someone near the top to have a bit of knowledge of football to help make the right decision about a manager.
I spoke about that, that's
They're
right,
all
Billy.
busy. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Surely there are stats on every player out there. Rangers need a data analyst and a decent manager.
Yeah, just touching that, that's a comment for Christopher Scott. So just
Yeah.
touch on that. So a lot of clubs, I know, I don't want to sound that people might not believe this, but
Yeah.
there's a actual football thing called football game called Football Manager, and that's driven by a data engine. And believe it or not, a lot of clubs have actually moved to that style of scouting where
Really?
that's what they actually do. So split
Oh, the
clubs.
accurate.
Yeah.
The accurate
absolutely.
I don't know
So-
the accurate.
Yeah.
Aye, so this is so. Do you see this now? See this data-driven analysis. This is what they do. So they collate all the stats and they have people
produces
out
it.
Well,
and they have this database, and that's how most English clubs now scout their players.
Really?
There's still a human element of it. So
I know.
this engine or this data-driven analysis will identify players,
What ones that are-
but then it's only once they're identified will then send skips.
take it to the next step.
Aye, exactly.
It's how
So-
it's quite interesting because it's how clubs like Luton have managed to bring themselves
And
to the
Brentford.
top. Yeah, the Moneyball sort of style of
Yeah.
So that might be, with foot jumping in here because I might be wrong, but that might be what Rangers are planning to do because they've obviously reshuffled
yeah, it looks
the
like it.
scouting system. I don't believe that Bomber Brown, I know people said that online, they were saying that he was sacked, but I think John Brown's been moved to a different role. I'm not sure what it is, but maybe, let's hope they're doing something like that because we need to modernise. The
Yeah.
days of just going to watch players has changed.
I feel like we're probably the only, club that's reached the European final in the last 10 years that probably
They haven't done it.
doesn't use this,
Yeah.
statistic based.
Let's catch up with the comments
Yeah.
again. There's loads of comments coming
So-
in, which is great, but
So
I'll try and catch them all.
we'll get to the comments about the manager shortly because we're going to discuss that in more detail. So we might just skip past some of the comments about the manager.
yeah, continue to
and,
last and past glories. We are so weak in every department. David Urquhart, 100% agree with you. Evening,
hi
guys.
to a few hellos there. So hello to everyone. And
So there's a few people saying no more project managers again.
Yeah.
100%. Mate. The club cannot afford to keep doing project managers. They cannot afford to do that.
Paul McGregor made a good point about bringing Defoe back to training strikers. I really think there has to be big investment in the coaching staff, but we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah.
So a couple of people asking if you can call in now, so I think people might have left their numbers at the bottom.
Yeah.
But
Put your 3 digits in and
Aye.
give us a wee
We'll
bell.
catch you in a
yeah.
minute.
So what needs to happen is obviously it's a very popular show tonight, and we could have MD phoning in. So if you leave your 3 numbers, last 3 numbers in the comments section, when you phone in, we can identify who's calling in. That's why
Yeah,
we
so the
asked for
question
it.
is, Stephen Davis does well, do you think he'll get the job? If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think no matter how well he does, I don't think he'll get the job.
No.
However, I think that would stand him in good stead for the future as a manager with a different club or with Rangers in the future, but I don't think
Right
he
now.
would get the job no matter how well he does. Again, I don't have any insight into that though, it's just my opinion.
What frightens me is a board that's not football meant to pick the manager. Hopes and is involved in the process.
Paul, how you doing, mate?
Okay, so will we just skip to the
Aye,
bottom and
there's
then
a
to
few
talk
people, a
about
lot of
the
people are saying
manager?
Warnock, so we'll obviously no, he's probably the favourite.
Darren Martin's the guy.
Dan Martin's 932, if you want to give us a
632,
Aye.
Dan, phone back in.
Darren, if you want to phone back in,
Put it up
and
about
then
10 times, so he's
aye,
definitely
aye.
by the phone.
God. So
eh,
you're no phone there.
David Robertson will sort them out.
Right, and after if Darren phones in, we'll then move on to talking about discussing the new manager and who's on the short list and who we think. There we
Right,
go.
there we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hiya.
Hi.
Ah, no bad.
Is that Darren?
Yeah.
Darren, how you doing, mate? You alright?
How you doing, team? First team caller. I've also got a few points. First couple, obviously, when I was at the game on Saturday, when we were 2-0 down, you were looking at that part, and it was just the atmosphere that you go, who's going to score 2 goals in this team? You know, it's absolute shambles just now, and was an absolute shambles, and Beale was there. But obviously, Stephen Davis has come in, so let's get behind him, you know, and obviously the players that are injured, you'll see him come back a lot more quick, and I think he lost aggressive in my opinion.
I agree.
On
good point.
Saturday, when we went obviously 3-1 down, enough was enough. I was scunnered. I left. You know, the words that was inside the stadium was very, very negative, in my opinion. But obviously he's got a tough game. Obviously, at midweek, so we need to get behind him and just see.
Definitely.
Obviously, it is what it is. He's there just now, and just get behind him and get behind the team again, and just let's start rebuilding.
Yeah, it's good
So,
points.
who do you think, then? Who do you think for the job?
For the job, in my opinion, obviously Stephen Davis hits the ground running, then he's a great chance to obviously take it obviously full time. I get some of your points that he's maybe not the right guy for the job, but you know if he's got a big job in his hands, you know with the league and stuff, so it's just about getting behind him and just
Definitely.
seeing what he can obviously bring to the club. And I think, in my opinion, that you know he has got a tough job, but let's see what he can bring to the.
Well, I would say he's the right man just now for to take a job just now. He's got a lot of respect in the dressing room. So another wee question for you: Director of football. Did we get the director of football and then the manager, or did we get the manager and then the director of football?
I would say the director of football, and then
So would I.
you know, in my opinion, it's where do you look? You know, with the situation with the finance and stuff, where do you look? You know,
Well,
and who,
Well, back to what you're saying then. So if we did the director of football first, we're looking at maybe 3 or 4 weeks before we get a manager, I would think. But I think that's the right decision. I think they need to get the right manager, but the director of football needs to have an input. It's got to be a football man needs to make his decision.
but obviously, you know, we obviously I see some of your points as well, but the rookie managers coming in, it's just I've had Rangers have had enough of that, you know, and I think when it was Saturday when you're just you know, the atmosphere getting booed off the park, and it's not a nice place to be. And obviously they knew it was coming, but obviously after the international, would that have been appropriate to obviously sack him? And you know, obviously the players might be obviously buzzing for it, and you know, it might give them the momentum to kind of go and push on. But you know, just hopefully it doesn't just give Stephen Davis a chance, because that's obviously the only option we've got just now.
Aye, no, I agree, and I think he's definitely the right man. And I like Ray in there as well. I know there's been a lot of negative comments, but short term again, I like Ray at least is going to go through the players if he doesn't think they're trying. That's at least something. And if nothing else, it'll make us feel a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren, thanks very much for
Good
your call.
call, mate.
Very good call. Please feel
Thank
free to
you.
call again, okay, mate?
And we'll save your number.
Okay, thank you
Say
very
number.
much. Steve.
Okay.
Save our
Thank
number
you.
then.
Cheers.
Good call,
Good
mate.
night.
Cheers.
Good call.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. So,
Okay.
I'm going to make a wee point here, Gordon, right?
Yeah, on you go.
And I think it's well worth debating. The majority of Rangers supporters, and I've been in this position myself, I've been saying over the last few years, when they name managers, I look at English managers. In the last 20, and if I'm wrong with this figure, somebody can correct me, but in the last 23 years, so in the last 24 years, only one English manager has finished in the top 3 of the English Premiership. So that's 23 years in a row that there's not been an English manager finish in the top 3 positions.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's either spot on or very, very close.
Right, so and if my facts are right, and I'm pretty sure they are, 23 years without having an Englishman that can go to the second and first position in the English league. Why are we fascinated about this getting English managers in all the time? For an example, Frank Lampard, good guy without a doubt. I know his dad's a Rangers man, and I know he's a great player.
Yeah.
But we want a manager, and we want the best managers, and it doesn't need to be an Englishman. Nothing against English guys, but they haven't won
you're
anything. They've not been successful. The best managers in the English league used to be Scotsmen.
I mean, there's still David Moyes down there. That is so. I just say my kind of top. Yeah, Gary, you can phone in whenever you like, mate.
Okay, put your three
Just before that, what I would say is I think that Rangers are at a crossroads right now regarding the managerial position. I think that this one is, they're all critical, but this is even more so because we cannot afford another 12 months and then sacking another manager. We've done it with Gio, we've done it with Beale. We can't keep ripping the team up and starting again.
So two things that we need to do is we need to get the right manager.
Captain.
But if things start to go wrong with the right manager, we're going to need to grip our teeth and we're going to have to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go
So I'll
there.
get back to that point
Remember,
after.
It's a different one, phone him. Can you put your 3 digits
yeah,
in?
if you want to phone in, please leave your last three numbers there so we can identify you, okay? That's all we ask for is the last 3 numbers. Getting back to my point, we've got projects and, you know, that's fine. We need somebody that's going to be here for at least 3, 4, 5 years because we cannot afford this constant chopping and changing.
So what you're saying means that, I'll try to drink my ginger here, there you go. So what that means is, this manager's going to come in with a team with the mindset of losing, so the first couple of months is going to be hard for him.
It's Gary.
Whoever comes in, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, we'll get that to me second.
Hello.
Hi, is that Gary?
Yes.
Hi Gary, how you doing?
No bad, pal, Bill. We seem no bad.
As well as can be expected.
Yeah.
Absolutely, somebody. But no, the old thing is, you're talking about a director of football. I'd get Graham Souness in there.
Okay, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Why?
Well, obviously, he's got a good knowledge of football, and he's got a good knowledge of Rangers, and he kens a lot about the football club and as well and what it means to the fans, and I think it would be a good thing. But I mean, I do agree that we need to appoint a director of football before obviously getting a manager in.
Okay,
so because the problem is, if you do it the other way about, what happens if the director of football says that the manager's a donkey?
Aye. Well, that's aye. So,
See the whole thing is, see as a manager, I mean, I ken there's no, I don't feel what this name's not been put in the hat and that, but there's a young guy that I would like to see manager of Rangers, Billy Davis.
Aye, he's been out of football for a while, that's the only worry with that one.
So, just getting back to the football with Souness, okay, so I totally understand where everyone's coming from when they say Souness. But here's a question for you, I mean this is a sincere question, okay? Do you think Graham Souness would leave what he's doing just now to come back to them, given his health issues? He's a pundit, he's making millions as
no, I don't think he's a pundit anymore, I think he chopped it.
He's still on.
No, maybe you're right.
Listen, I think he will. I think he would because he's a Rangers man. I mean, Graham Souness, I mean, he's got a soft spot for Rangers. I think he will.
Yeah,
I think the whole thing is, he kens that we're in a kind of bit of trouble now, and I think that he would have no hesitation in doing that.
Okay, as a genuine question, because we know he's had like health issues, etc. So, do we think that? Do we think that he would put himself? Because it's a stressful job, you know. We all know
this
that.
Is what, Graham Laws made a point. I was just about to mention this. Graham Souness said that I think it was a triple heart bypass. I can't remember exactly what he had. He had a major heart operation, and he's a really passionate guy. It would probably, without sounding bad, it would probably send him over.
Yeah, aye. So
the top doing that job.
I think if we could find somebody, you know, a director of football wise, it's a very important position. So it has to be somebody with football knowledge.
How about this for a comment? I would have Souness as one of the selection panel for the manager's job.
Great. Yep. Brilliant. Great point.
See the whole thing is, right? See Michael Beale, I never wanted Michael Beale to begin with. I mean, the whole thing is, what we're doing, we're keen to put in all our hope in managers. It's no proved ourselves. Obviously, they've no been proven managers. I mean, there was Michael Beale. He wasn't even in a manager's job for 6 months, and he left bloody QPR.
Yeah.
It's just absolute nonsense. Absolute crap.
Yeah. Okay. No. Good point.
I agree
he
100%.
He was very inexperienced.
And I get 100% agree with you, and I understand why you're saying about the Souness thing as well. And people are saying he swung the English Channel and all that. Swimming the English Channel and wanting to run in the Parkway Square goes with football players is two different things. And Graham Souness, if anybody remembers him, Graham Souness was that temperament. Graham Souness was a proper hard man. I don't think he's health that he would be the right man for the job. But again, it's all about opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He can sail any sea he wants. He sailed the Blue Sea Ibrox many times.
No. Okay. Who would you have as manager then?
Well, as a manager, honestly, I Gary, Ken, see the whole thing is, right, that now it's getting to the point where I think we should just focus on the next couple of games coming up instead of the whole kind of thinking about managers and now, because I think Steve Davis will be finding out, and I think it's one of the things we're going to have to take our time on looking, because you're going to get it right, you're not going to sit there, and we can't afford for it to go wrong again.
No, that's a good point. I think they should be doing due diligence and take their time on the management. I would definitely wait for the next 2 games. I would actually make the comment, and again, people can agree or disagree. I think the game at Love Street, or whatever you call it now, St Mirren away, will be a harder game than. Aye, I think that'll be a harder game than the game in Cyprus.
The CMEX Stadium or something, or the Sunny.
So I think that'll be the tougher game out of the two of them.
But then see the thing that's really worrying me is we're playing a wee game against St Mirren now. I've never seen, well, no for a long time anyway, since we first came back up the divisions, but then to sit there and third place played second place, normally, I mean, that's unheard of for a Rangers side anyway, and then especially the Nets got into it, because I mean, I ken that it's only a St Mirren team, but the whole thing is, when you're going into it third and you're trying to get up to second, I mean, it's going to be a kind of funny, you know, especially their pitch is quite narrow as well, and it's just panic, and it's, as a Rangers fan, it's just seeking in and out.
100%.
And you can hear the passion in your voice, so it's great to hear.
Listen, great call, mate. Great call.
Yeah.
Cheers
Feel
very
free.
much for listening. I'll call back in
Please
another
do.
time, but thanks for letting me on, boys.
Okay, no
All
worries.
the best. Thanks, Gary.
Take
Right,
care.
cheers, pal.
Take care.
Cheers. We're going to try and get Ryan on next as well. Ryan, sorry we missed you there, but we're still in the middle of that call.
Phone back, Ryan.
Yeah.
Says.
So
I don't think anybody's going to doubt. I know people saying Souness will give 100%. Without a doubt he would, but we need a wee bit more than the 100%. You need somebody that's up to date with the modern. As Gordon alluded to, the modern day, the way that the game's played.
You're so right, yeah.
So just coming back to that, so obviously the names that are kind of heavily linked right now are Frank Lampard, Pascal Janssen, if I'm correct, Kevin Muscat, and kind of I would say probably the guy who pulled Gilmont again, Knutson, or
the Monaco manager.
Philip Clement.
People might not like it, but Derek McInnes, I would say, would definitely. I'm not saying they were going to get it, but McInnes will definitely be linked.
Yeah, so I think so. There's also Marcelo Gallardo. Is that how you pronounce it, Lewis? So he's won. Thanks, mate. He's won 50. He's won a lot of the titles as a player and a manager.
Very impressive.
Very impressive.
In Argentina, is it?
Yeah, I think that I personally speaking, I don't think that Frank Lampard would be a great spectacular fit. He's not really setting the hell of a light at Chelsea or Everton, and he's an ex-player who could inspire respect and inspire players. I think maybe motivate them, but I think we need somebody that's got the tactical know-how.
There's a good one in there. There's a good one there. Stephen Laurie said that he would push a boat out and get Vincent Kompany from Burnley, leader. Takes no prisoners. The problem with Burnley would be that they would have a lot of money in that league, so there's so it would probably cost a lot of money to get them.
I think Vincent Kompany's going to be holding out until Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, there's absolute. I mean, you're talking absolute millions of pounds, and the name I was thinking of that I didn't say a minute ago was Graham Potter, and honestly, I cannot think that Graham Potter would. He's left Chelsea, but I can't see Graham Potter leaving Chelsea and coming to Scotland. Graham Potter will be holding out for probably a reasonably top tier job down south.
You'll probably get a better chance of signing Harry Potter or Pansy Potter.
Or Derek Trotter.
I think, to be honest, I've heard a lot of people are unhappy with Lampard being linked, and I'm not. I would not want that, as a manager. But to defend him, I think that he was really impressive when he managed Derby around about the same time that Gerrard first started managing us. He managed to get Derby so close to getting promoted to the Premier League, and when you get into the Premier League, it's so difficult. I mean, he got given the Chelsea job, and he was impressive at first.
Yeah.
But
So I just Alan Newton said that the names you're talking about is a big mistake. Okay, that's fine. We're just repeating who are the favourites right now.
We're just shooting them out.
So, but if you want to tell us Alan, if you want to comment on who you would like as manager, then you can, because that's all about your
So
opinion.
this one's really interesting. David Urquhart's made a really good comment here. Right, I'll tell you why. St Mirren manager Steve Robinson If the unthinkable happens and he gets a result against us on Sunday, then you would have to argue that he's got a good
Just
case.
Ryan.
He would have a good case for coming in.
Yeah, and it's
definitely
somebody that's done
Definitely Ryan.
it's someone that's done a great job as well.
So
yeah.
again, if we're saying we can't go against, we can't be snobbery
Yeah.
against
Hi,
Scottish
Ryan.
managers.
How you doing, Nike?
Hiya.
Oh, good mate.
Good, good.
What's in your mind? I would
It's a
pres-
helpline tonight.
I would presume Rangers.
That's a wee
Well,
support
I'm
helpline.
actually doing buttons over this, to be honest.
Aye.
Yeah.
We can't get it right.
Honestly, well, see if we do get it right this time, it's not the manager, it's got to be the board this time.
I agree.
Very, very, very good point. Yeah.
This is surely got to be the board's last chance at choosing a manager.
Which I think is why they'll take their time over it, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Possibly, but I don't think they've got time.
Do you think Davies could maybe do a stopgap for a few weeks, at least maybe 3 or 4 weeks?
Well, the international break's helping them for definite.
Well, definitely, I'd say the international breaks definitely helped them. Obviously, they kind of did over seeing when Brock cost down, though, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. International breaks
I think
are.
that cost them in the end as far as time,
Yeah.
getting the players sorted and stuff like that. So I think they need to make a decision. I don't think they've got time.
So are you wanting somebody in then, Ryan, for the international break, so he's got a couple of weeks to work with the players, or are you wanting that?
Aye.
Okay.
I mean, they've got to have a contingency plan. The Blaine's been on the wall for the last couple of weeks now, so it's not as if this is out the blue and they decide to sack on the back of terrible results. No, no, he's been a dead man walking, as we've all said.
That was always going to
Aye,
happen.
there was an air of inevitability around it, wasn't there?
So, but Lampard's no for me. I don't think his last 2 jobs he's been put out of, isn't he, really?
Yeah, exactly.
We need a tried and tested winner, but we can't take a chance of somebody that could be a winner.
Yeah.
Well, this is where Muscat kind of goes, like, obviously won the league, the 2 places he's been. He's won it in Japan, he's won it in Australia.
Yeah.
I really wish he wasn't Australian, he wasn't coming from Japan, to be honest.
Aye.
But aye, yeah.
No, I see your point there, and it's a very good point. But he's a winner, and he's. I think you're right. I think we need somebody that's coming from a winning background rather than a sacked losing background.
So Ryan, I've spoke to you about this obviously a couple of times in private and in the bars and that, the pubs. What do you think? Do you agree with me that we need the director of football in and then a manager, or do you think you go in reverse?
I think they're both going to come as a package this time, to be honest with you. I think we'll be talking to a few people about this.
Right.
Warnock's a possibility.
As a director of football?
Director of football, possibly.
Right, yeah.
Try to put a link between the boardroom and the football department.
Yeah.
That's a good call, yeah.
Yeah.
He's local to me, he stayed down in the room, you know that? He's actually got a holiday home down in the room.
Aye, and apart, well, I know he comes, I've heard that he's got a holiday home in Dunoon and he also goes to Ibrox quite a lot.
He's really friendly with the guy who owns the builders merchants down here. So he's got 3 or 4 tickets, I think, in the members' lounge, so Warnock's obviously...
Is he needing a new boiler? Aye, so, good shout. I'm saying, is he needing a new boiler, Ryan?
What's that, sorry?
No, it doesn't matter, I'll send you a text.
Private joke.
So
Aye, but that's possibly... I don't think Warnock's a long-term thing. I think he's just in as a troubleshooter, basically.
yeah.
Possibly build some bridges for us, but I can't see anybody else coming in and doing it. It's a disaster. You don't see there's no obvious choices there.
Aye, I mean that's a good shout if you get him, but he's the kind of guy, if you get Warnock in, he's not going to just take that job at any manager. I wouldn't think.
No.
He's getting a stubborn that way, and quite rightly so.
Yeah. I think so. I think the career that he's had in football, I think he's got the right to be picking and choosing where he wants him.
So he's going to make sure that the guy comes in somebody that he wants.
Yeah.
But is Warnock going to be here for the long term? So is that a good option? Because a manager might be here for 3, 4, 5 years, and Warnock might be here for a year.
Aye. Well, this is it. I mean, it's a case of just you're plugging holes at the moment. I don't think there is a short-term solution to what we've got. I think we've got a real long-term problem. We've wasted millions and millions of pounds in the transfer market. We've sold players that arguably we shouldn't have sold, that are going to take even more money to replace. We're still with this Beale invoice, we're going to be still paying potentially next season, because if we don't get into this super European football league that's coming in next season, it's mere money away.
That's something we need to talk about one weekend, but one of the shows. But there's a lot of changes in Europe coming up soon, and Rangers need to be. This is why we need to get this decision right.
Yeah, and that's why we're at a crossroads.
So, for example, with the getting Neil Warnock in, I would say one of the pros and cons with it. Warnock probably wouldn't be a very popular choice with the players, which I think is a good thing, because what we don't want is the scenario which we've had quite a lot of times as the players are friends with the management.
Aye.
Warnock would basically put the foot down and put arses, and that's what you need.
Aye.
That is what you need.
Really, I mean, in my opinion, personally, I think they're down tools the last 2 guys to
Yep.
I think the down tools in my broadcast. I'm led to believe something happened in Portugal during the pre-season game that the players wanted to go and enjoy themselves, and the broadcast said it wasn't on the cards for them. Down tools on him. Beale, for whatever reason, I've heard stuff like he's walking off the training ground, they're arguing about drills, I'm not happy with things, and he's walked off the training ground during the last week. So.
Right. There's also was an incident, I don't know if you know about it, but it was an incident obviously because of the, as I spoke to you about the kit man, but the players weren't happy when they went to Germany. This is when it all started.
Yep. Well, I'm led to believe the players asked the manager to step in and help the kit man. Trying to keep the kit man's job for him, that he'll basically refused to get involved with it.
And if that had happened under Steven Gerrard, whether people like Gerrard or no, Gerrard would have stuck his ground and won the fight. Because he's a leader.
I'm led to believe that Gerrard stepped in and helped the chef out. The chef was taking videos, obviously, when we won the championship.
That's right.
The dressing room.
They tried to sack him.
What happened with the chef taking the videos, and Gerrard stepped in and helped him.
So, the players apparently, as you know, weren't happy with the leadership of the management there. And that's when I go back to Warnock. You might not like Warnock, but Warnock won't take any shit for the board or the players or the big name egos.
The players need to understand the employees in the club. Yes, they do have a say, and obviously we have to respect their opinion and stuff, but being employees in the club, and you're paid very well to do a job, and your job's to win football games. And that's one time I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And you also need somebody that's going to enforce the fact that second and third best in this league is bottom. It's nothing. And I think Warnock, to be fair,
you should not ever put yourself second for Rangers Football Club. That's the only time you should ever be good enough.
Yep. I mean, I think that's a good shout with the Warnock for a couple of, maybe for a year anyway. As a director of football, that would be a good shout because he would demand and command
He certainly steadied the ship for a year or two.
But it's who we would get as a manager, because he would be a hard guy to work under, because proper leaders are hard people to work under.
Yeah.
So you guys all know that.
What was?
Very true.
Well, let's hope we get the right decision, mate.
So I was getting a doing after it.
Hopefully so, because for me, definitely this time, if it's not the manager seat that's going to go,
I think
the manager a toolbox, and they can't work with toolbox, that's not his fault.
I think you're right.
Toolbox to be given in the first place.
Yeah, I think you're right.
True,
I think you're absolutely right, Ryan, mate. If this is that disaster like the other two have been in the end, then it's the boards that heads in the chopping block rather than the manager.
Yeah, well, and I don't think the fans are silly enough to not notice that. The fans will react, and it will be the board that will.
We did say, but you did say at the weekend that people are now starting to realise
they're
that.
reacting because people pick the phone Rangers for miles. They're travelling for hours and end to go and see Rangers, and people are leaving. Look at the tenders. People were leaving early.
I left at 7
in numbers.
Oh, and look at
I've never done that.
Look at the tickets. look at the tickets that were sold against Livingston at home.
Yeah.
There's even spare tickets for Europa League. I mean, how many times has that happened?
So
Well, there's 10 seats next to me. I'm 10
so the fans have reacted.
That's after you got there.
Anyway, good call, Ryan.
Good
again,
call,
mate.
Ryan. Thanks for
Thanks,
that.
Ryan.
Have a good night, speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
Thanks
care.
a lot.
So a good call for Ryan
That was a
again.
really
Yeah.
good call.
Okay.
Just touching on the point of the players down in tools on the manager.
Yeah.
I think we've got Stephen Davis coming in as a caretaker, and those players better. I was listening to Heart and Hand, and what they were saying is those players better be ready to run through brick walls for Stephen Davis, because he is ultimately Rangers royalty, is what they were saying.
Yeah.
Aye, because you feel bad watching a manager getting thrown under the bus, but a guy like Davis who's played in 2 European finals, or he's got Rangers to 2 European finals anyway,
Yeah.
and a guy that captained Rangers and he's a Rangers supporter.
Understand.
At least
yeah.
give the guy 100%.
Oh,
And
definitely.
give the fans 100%. Because that's what the fans want, is 100%. If you're not good enough, you'll get dropped.
Yeah.
But these players, in my opinion, they're the biggest burden now. You've got rid of the management, you've got rid of the coaches.
I know.
It's all down to the players
It's
now.
all down to the players, but exactly that's filtering
Yeah.
down.
So, just a quick point on something I phrased the last caller. Hi Sandra, hope you're well.
Lewis, you shouldn't be watching Heart and Hand.
So, just a quick picking up on a phrase that Ryan made about not an obvious choice. I think the last couple of managerial appointments, it became pretty evident that Steven Gerrard was the favourite. He became the obvious choice. After Gerrard left, and Gio became the kind of obvious choice, and then after Gio, it was Michael Beale the obvious choice. Looking through the candidates,
There's
and
no
this
obvious
time
choice now.
I don't see any obvious candidate. The only kind of two that stick
Hold on a
out.
minute, there's Derek McInnes phoning in.
Alright.
Very good. I like that. So, but I think there's two obvious candidates now for different reasons. So I think we're two semi not obvious, but two favourites for me are Kevin Muscat, because he's won the league and he's got Rangers
The name's not
connections.
going away, aye.
Yep, and Pascal Janssen, because without going into too much detail, there's Newman and De Boer have certain influences at Rangers, and they seem to be punting his name quite a bit as well. So I think it's a choice. Me personally, whether I agree with it or not, it's not my place. But I think it's becoming a choice between Kevin Muscat and Pascal Janssen.
I think I'm going to be leaning more towards Kevin Muscat as to what's going to happen,
Do you
because
think so?
as soon as the Old Firm was finished, there was reports that we were talking to Muscat. So
Yeah.
I think when we've got that much desire to go and get a manager,
I'll start my head in the chopping block and say the two people that I would like to be nominated or considered closely for the job are Marcelo Gallardo for the South American flair, and that opens up a whole new transfer market and scouting capabilities.
Yeah.
And then the others, literally the complete polar opposite would be Knutson for Bodo Glimt. Again, that opens up a whole new scouting market up in Scandinavia, South America, Scandinavia.
But you get a lot of good deals.
Yeah, both untapped markets. You could get a player, South America, bring him in for $1 million or two, and easily sell him for 10, 11, 12 million.
Yeah.
The same with the Scandinavian market. You get a player, they're really seen nowadays in Norway and Denmark and Sweden. They're such technical players now,
Yeah.
and you could bring in this guy who knows the leagues inside out. You get your scouts up there, you get your data, analysis up there, and you bring in some of these players.
Get
and
your
then
CV in.
you sell. Well, now you mentioned it, Viv, I think I've got.
An interesting.
If you look at some of these further down the list of bookies, I'm not far off the list.
Right. But what you're saying, I don't disagree with, right? But see if you put it into the argument the board will probably look at. See, when you're saying there's an untapped market, there's great players there that you can treble the money on. You could probably argue a good Scottish manager could do that with the Scottish players that have left. To go to Italy and go to England.
Absolutely.
A good point on how we want to bring in Norwegian players. A lot of those players are regularly playing on the AstroTurf pitches that have been troubling us.
So yeah, absolutely right. Sandra Gemmell, very good point. And I think you make a great point, Sandra, that we totally have to take our time. We need to have I would say there has to be at least 2 or 3 interviews. We need to work out a formula, work out a plan, work out the tactics, etc. Because if we rush the option and go for the cheaper option, it'll cost us more down the line.
Aye, you also need to remember, whoever it is, right, just say it's going to be a really good manager, right, which we're hoping. Whoever it is going to be, because Terry and Rose made a good point about who's going to be taking the guidance for to get the manager right. But you've also got the problem when you're interviewing the manager, that team are no changing now to January. So you've got a team who are players who have let 2 managers down previously, who have down tools, and the fans have turned on as well. And you're asking a good manager to come in.
I know.
There we go. Look, bottom comment there.
There we go. The new management team are sitting in front of us on the couch.
It's called sarcasm.
I'm sitting on the chair over here, so I think that's the obvious choice.
You're the higher.
So
Sandra was on the Gers TV. She's going to be coming back soon. That's right.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
Fans
as we'll probably do another 5 or 10 minutes, because it's always a little bit extended tonight because of the circumstances. MD wants to phone in, but give us your thoughts. So I've given my tuppence worth in for who you think the manager would be. Si, Viv, any thoughts on who should get the job?
If I'm being 100% honest, I've not got a clue. I don't have any insight.
Nah.
The nearest insight I've got is I sent Ali Gray a text, because I've done gigs with him in the past for Gers TV. Sent him a text just saying good luck, mate. I didn't ask him any questions. I wouldn't put him in that position, and he wouldn't tell me anyway.
I've got no technical.
I was at the dinner on Saturday night, as I said.
Yep.
The Walter Smith dinner. Well done to James Mortimer for the charity work that he done, because it was all going to the Variety Club. It was going to the Variety Club Scotland, and I thought it was very well organised, and fair play for that. But there was Jim White was there, and all the foot name drop was all the big names of Scottish football were there, and nobody that you spoke to had the slightest idea who the next manager of Rangers was going to be. So if any of us come on and say that we know, or any of these podcasts say, I've got a wee tip off, they won't have a tip off, I can tell you that now. Rangers will keep this in-house, and I genuinely don't know who they'll go for. But what I would say is, director of football first, and then manager second.
Right, is it?
Thanks.
So we've obviously got the
Facebook user, but we don't know the name.
Philip. So Andy McLean is saying, McKean is saying Philip Clement or Muscat. I personally think it's going to come down to this AZ Alkmaar manager, Pascal Janssen or Muscat, but Lampard better not be near the club. I don't think
It's a concern that Lampard's name keeps getting
Yeah,
mentioned. But
every
I
time
know.
because
I've seen
it's
that so many times.
yeah.
that's correct. The guy Fabrizio Romano seems to be the guy that gets it before anybody.
Yeah.
He's the
knew
main
Beale
guy.
sacking before anyone, so he's
Who
the
is
top
he?
journalist. He's
He's
the
a top journalist.
He's
Oh,
the,
right.
He's the main guy on Twitter. If
Is
you
it?
want,
Right, okay.
if he makes a comment on Twitter, he's normally right. He doesn't always say
Okay.
allegedly. He normally says
Right, okay.
as a bit of
So you
authority.
can kind of take it with a bit of
Yeah.
truth. No Muscat, please.
Like Fabrizio does know.
Oh, yes, Shane Rangers on Saturday. Oh, no.
Okay, hi Mark. Good to
Could
see
you put your
Mark.
name on? We've got your last 3 digits, but we don't know who you
Right, we
are.
need a name on that so we know who it is. It's phone in.
What my
Yeah.
thoughts?
Again, the Lampard one is it's not getting away, but I think it's only because he put his name into the running. I would think anyway.
They always have that kind of.
Yeah, I think that every kind of every managerial appointment nowadays you do get there seems to be
Well,
you do get the same kind of 3 or 4.
It's not a bad
names
thing
linked.
as well that there's a lot of names
Yeah,
getting linked
and
to it.
so somebody like Frank Lampard is still a big name in football. So to have people like Frank Lampard and Graham Potter linked is great, but for different
Of course it
reasons.
is.
I don't think Potter would come because Potter's still got a lot in front of him down the Premiership to do. I think, but Frank Lampard is Frank Lampard did decent at Derby and then decent at Chelsea for a while, but didn't really did hellish at Everton to be frank. So I don't
That was
really
his dad.
think. I thought it was actually sorry. So very good. So I just think that so you want somebody. You made a good point about Stephen Robinson. You want somebody that's on an upward trajectory.
Aye, but I'm not saying Stephen Robinson should be the manager. What
Yeah,
I'm saying
but
is, if anybody's people are putting the argument out right on online that he should be in for a shout, and what I'm saying is, if he got a result against Rangers on Sunday, then there would be
Yeah.
snobbery there to turn around and say,
Oh, okay, right, okay.
that
Yeah,
he's
no, I
not-
get
that
it.
he shouldn't
Yeah.
have been in the running for it because
So
action
do
speaks
I.
louder than words.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're criticising Beale for not getting results, but we're also criticising Robinson for getting results, it doesn't make any sense.
Somebody's been writing a comment just on follow because I went and done a lot of shares, but somebody wrote, do you think we should do the same as that mob across the road and do a 1-year contract? We can't afford these managers that are getting 4-year deals.
This has been
anymore.
discussed all day on Facebook, to be fair. It's a good
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
You need to start being clever.
Mhm.
With what, that's a comment just came up there. That's,
It's mad.
so we must be behind times.
Oh,
But
God.
it
But
is,
do you know something we don't?
I can see it in the future.
it's just about it's just about the board doing things right.
Uh-huh.
You can't keep throwing money away.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
Ryan made a comment a few minutes ago. There's going to be a different change in UEFA soon. Next year,
Yeah, so
only
we have
Penny
to...
Arcade. We need to know a name on it. Sorry.
Right, so whoever's tried to phone in there and wrote that comment
So-
about Penny Arcade, if you let us know your name, you can phone in
It's
again.
just coming up as a Facebook user, so you're watching it through the Gers TV group and know the page, so we don't know the
Yeah.
name. We will take your call. But what I was saying was, Gordon, that there is big money, massive money going to be getting made if you qualify for this
Oh yeah.
the new sections in Europa and UEFA
Yeah,
next year.
that's
But Rangers
true.
Rangers want to be involved in
You
this,
need to get involved.
so
exactly.
you're going to have to speculate to accumulate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that
People
there's
need
going
to
to yeah, so
That's
it'll be
really right.
interesting. And again, the Rangers board's ambition, we'll know a lot about that in January because a new manager. See, if you get a new manager coming with a pedigree, he'll want a big transfer budget.
Yeah.
So this is why we'll know the ambition of the board.
What's wrong with is
Because-
this pedigree enough for you?
Okay, chum. God, I don't know what you've ruined my chain of
I
thought.
know.
there.
The place has got the dogs. The manager's
What's that's got the dogs?
The manager needs to be a top quality. There needs to be a big
Yeah.
name, I think,
But you need
and personality.
Aye,
Yeah.
but a part of a discussion now for the manager coming in is transfer budgets and scouting budgets, etc.
Aye.
So how big a name we get will depend on
Ricky 246.
on
Okay.
how
Right.
much
Phone back, Ricky.
the board are
Aye.
willing to invest.
I mean, I agree with you, Gordon, for the simple reason if I was a new manager coming in and people are going to be getting knee pelters if I get it wrong as a manager, I'd be saying I want a new defence. So if
Yeah.
you want a new defence, you need the money.
We've got a call.
Because the defence is awful. Oh, dog, what?
Hello.
Hello, Ricky.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Alright?
Very
I know,
well,
bad. Sorry,
yourself?
Good, thank you.
Your name and they come up there, mate.
Aye, alright. What's happening with the old Facebook site? Is there another page or something?
Aye, I've got 2 pages, sorry. So sometimes people watch it on the Gers TV group and sometimes they watch it on the page. If you watch it on the group, what we see and what you see is different. So what I'm looking at the news is Facebook user.
Aye, so we don't see the name.
Message up.
Aye.
Comes up these bad numbers.
Oh, Lily's just farted and it's absolutely
Okay.
honking, man.
Right, that's our mascot, the dog. By
Aye,
the way,
so-
in case it's not Vivian. Of
So we've
course.
not got your name, but we've got it now, Ricky. How you doing, mate? All right.
Of course it's not.
So what's your point?
Hello.
Aye, we've got you.
She actually just
Aye.
spoke to them.
Right, so what I was saying, right? So we're saying, you're saying we're needing a bit of time and get the right next manager right, which is really important. So it is.
Yep.
But say we take a few weeks, right? Like four weeks, right, to get a new manager.
Mhm.
And in these 4 weeks,
We lose.
Davis and that are being brilliant.
All right, yeah.
Went in, got a good European run, got the boys playing. Do we then take our time and give them their time? Do you see what they're doing?
Well,
And to see if they can get it right.
that's a great point. Because if no, then it's not really fair. It's like a poison chalice then if it's no. If you're not.
Absolutely.
if
And
you
the
do
people that are going to come in, they'll probably be looking at what's happened with the likes of Gio and Michael Beale. And I don't think a lot of candidates out there will be like that. I jump at the chance at Rangers because it's a shit show.
Aye, can be a bit of, you're right about the poison Charles. It's people that do want to risk their reputation by coming to Rangers right now, so that's a good point.
Ricky, you made a good point as well. If you were saying that, right, but I agree with Gordon, right? If somebody said to you, do you want the manager's job in January, when you're getting money, right, and you're not having to wait to January because you're going to have to play with that team, and that team have down tools.
If somebody comes in right now and loses a few games, they could be out the door by January, not mind anything else.
Aye, and it's true to the players because you can't change the players.
It's just a pure mess, isn't it?
That is
Aye.
a
It's just a pure
mess. Massive
man.
mess.
You don't know if they're coming or going.
I would.
I didn't know anything about the faults in Germany in pre-season and all that. And I just
Can
watching the
imagine.
show there and what. It kind of makes sense why guys are down tools.
Aye, so just to explain it a wee bit more. So see the Rangers, it's a legal case, so there's no much. I need to watch what's saying on it because it's got Rangers. The Rangers are at court with the guy, but the boy Jim McAllister's a massive Rangers supporter, who didn't just do it. He wasn't just the kit man. He was Jimmy Bell's assistant, so he was expected to take the kit man's job. The players had a relationship with him. He had a successful career at the lower levels of football. Morton, I think, he had a testimonial and things like that. He was a big name, but he took the coaching sessions, and the players had a lot of respect for him. And basically, long story short, he was accused of doing things that, from what I've been told from good sources, he didn't do.
Well, we can't discuss anything.
It's illegal, and I don't want to get involved.
Absolutely.
So the players have backed him on it, and the manager didn't back him. And the players have then apparently turned on the manager
Yeah.
for no backing him, because if you don't back one of your staff, you'll no back the rest. That's how they felt. And when the same scenario what happened with Gerrard a few years ago with the chef, he backed the manager, he backed the chef and said he's not getting the sack. Now the recent turn on this is that after all this has happened, Gerrard's now brought the guy, the kit man, Jim McAllister. He sent him out to Saudi Arabia to work with him.
Right.
I didn't actually see genuinely. I see Jim McAllister. You're right. He was an absolute legend down at Morton. If it's the same
Aye,
Jim
it's the same guy.
McAllister, that's something that I didn't
So it's
really
not
know
just a
about.
kit man that didn't play football.
He
You get
knows
his
football. He
stuff.
was a absolutely for a level Division 1 and Division 2 team. He was an absolute legend. Aye.
So that's when the fallout started, and it's all saying about losing the dressing room.
Yep.
The team, no, but the team have been awful for the start. See for pre-season, Rangers have been awful.
We started. Seen the first pre-season game. I thought we actually looked okay, but then it went
then they
downhill.
went to
Aye.
Germany. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
See the whole season, what Gordon, you've actually seen dribs and grabs of players. The players that Beale have brought in, you've seen dribs and grabs that they can play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever
It's
reason,
true.
they've no. I mean, I came on here the last time and spoke to you, and we said and it was only one game away, depending on what game it was.
Aye.
One against Beale Betis and get beat up Motherwell, he didn't get sacked.
Aye.
Yeah.
He went away and beat Beale Betis, right? And then
Aye.
scraped by Motherwell. Alright, we beat Livingston 4-0, but it wasn't really a 4-0 game.
No, you're right.
No.
Yeah, it was. So, well, the writing was on the wall field. He was one game away from getting beat. Getting beat at home half Aberdeen is just unacceptable.
That is.
It's unacceptable. It's maybe
But my
perhaps.
biggest, my biggest
On you go,
thing
sorry.
was the Old Firm game.
Aye.
Aye.
When they were, what really frustrated me was they were there for the taking and not once did they press the defence. Now, if Davis and Alec Graham that get a tune out of the players, because Alec Graham's a bit of a boy, he'll not take any nonsense.
Exactly. Aye.
Do you know what I mean? If they can get a tune out the boys and they're doing all right, I think they deserve it. To January and get every 6 months and review it again, and then see if that gives us more time to get the right person in.
Yep.
obviously if it's not working out, then we need to get another manager in.
I know, I agree with that. A wee bit of loyalty.
And you deserve a shot, especially the boys that are there, Stevie Smith, Alec May, the goalkeeper, coach and
Colin Scott.
all Rangers men, you all know what it's like to play for us. And my main concern is, if we go for another foreigner, I don't think it's going to work out.
Well, the only way a foreigner would work out is if you got an assistant manager and that was somebody like, and I'm not saying get rid of Davis, but if Stephen Davis was assistant manager or somebody that can say, look, you need to understand what the club's all about and coach him a wee bit. Because I agree with you, just bringing a foreigner in all the time doesn't do. A foreigner, that doesn't mean that they're going to be a good manager.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a different game up here altogether. We having to win every game, and I mean, some games even if you do win, if the style of football is no good enough, you're still going to be under so much pressure. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Yeah.
And a lot of managers are not like that either. A lot of managers they're good managers, but they're good managers, and if they finish second in the league, they're quite happy.
Absolutely, because the league suits them.
Aye, whereas if you're up here, they're not getting away with that.
No. No.
Yeah.
I just think, I think if they do well, if Davis and that do well, I think they deserve a crack at it.
Well, I don't think it's fair to give him a job now and then say you've no chance yet. I don't think that's fair. I think you should you should at least give him.
But the way it's going about, it's probably just all media talking that, but the way it's going about, it's if we need to get a manager in and we need to do it now.
Aye.
No, I think you're right. We need to take our time a little bit and get it right. And if we give Davis and Ray and that, 4, 5, 6 weeks to keep winning, then why not give them until the end of the season at least? But whether or not,
January, go to January and see where we are in January. And if they're still doing brilliant, at the end of the season, and if they've done amazing, and we've won the league game, we've won a double or whatever the treble, then let them give them a contract.
Okay, brilliant. Okay.
You're hoping. Good call, mate.
Good
Thanks
call.
for your persistence.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll save your number now. Alright, cheers.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Need to say much even as just as Ricky.
Okay.
I think that's
So,
more or less the end of the night for us, isn't it?
aye, so it's been an absolutely fantastic show. Lots and lots of new callers and listeners and
Get
comments.
Cuba, somebody for Cuba
Aye,
watching.
I thought, he said, if you go back up from Maradona, Cuba, I thought it was a
That's
boxer.
Gordon Mullins, that's my pal, he was there.
I thought it was a boxer.
Aye, I thought, did you see it there? He's a pilot and
Aye.
he
Always thought we'd be going
the
places.
boat and all that as well. Aye.
Always knew we'd be going places with. It's a pilot.
Time to go.
So that's
Plenty.
when you know.
Aye.
Okay, so Andy Croyd, not the strong hard
Nah.
manager as Walter, absolutely correct. I think Gerrard showed signs of it sometimes, especially his reactions after
Who's
the
that? I
couple
think
of
Rangers
club
did
games
Kirk
won.
back. Who's Kirk?
What's the last goal?
Kirk.
It's not Kirk Broadfoot, is it?
Don't know, just I'm surely it doesn't mean Kirk Broadfoot by defence, I don't know.
That's a bit harsh on Goldson to say he's getting replaced by Kirk Broadfoot.
Somebody made a point about maybe Golson and Tab not getting on. I think that view maybe suggested that at the start of the show, because
Aye.
body language we things have come
Definitely.
across.
We need to question some of the senior players in the squad.
Definitely.
Well, that's why we were saying about if you're getting a director of football and you want a proper guy, and that's why I can understand the
Be
people are saying
accountable.
about a soonest type guy, you're wanting Captain.
Captain Carr.
Beam me up.
You're definitely wanting somebody that's going to put the fear of death into players that are giving up. The fans are singing the cry was no surrender. Well, the players are surrendering, and if you're going to be bringing a guy in to lead them, and you're going to bring a guy in to lead the manager, then it's going to have to be guys that don't take any crap.
Absolutely. So
Good end note.
it's been an absolutely fantastic show, given the circumstances. Thank you all for keeping it respectful, and some very, very fascinating comments and calls in as well. So please
Yeah,
call
really enjoyed
again.
that.
100%.
There are we've got a big game in a couple of days' time. Obviously,
do.
Gers TV and all the fans. Let's get behind Stephen Davis and wish him
Exactly.
all the best.
Yeah, we've also got a big charity project going to be coming up next week. We're just working on the idea now.
We will, yeah.
But we're going to be doing some work again with Glasgow Sick Kids,
Yep.
announced next week.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely looking forward to that. So keep tuned for that. Keep tuned to our website for new content and our Facebook page, and we've got an esports community which I'll advertise after the show. It was too busy tonight.
Yep.
to
YouTube
do
and
anything
Spotify.
else. Yeah, we'll advertise that later. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments. Please watch again, and always remember, we are
The people.